Well, thank you for staying with us. Time now for us to get into the newspaper review. We're joined by Dr. Asah-Asante. He's a political scientist and the director of the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana. But right before I get to him, how about I let you know about Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic? They make it possible for us to bring you the news review segment. And here's what they're offering you. If you're a man, prostate screening. If you're a woman, fertility screening. Gratis, for free, completely free. All you have to do is locate them at any one of their centers, and then they'll get you sorted out. So where can you locate them? If you're here in Accra, head to Spintex, opposite the Shell signboard. That's where you're going to find them. In Kumasi, Kronoma, here behind the Angel Educational Complex, there's Takra, the Anaji Estates is where you will find them. If you're in Tema, Community 22 is the place to go. And then there's Tichiman Hanswe and Esiama and Zama. Their call numbers are 0244 867-068 or 0274-234-321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. But like I always say, only the start of the news review. Doc, a very good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Ben. How are you, my brother?
I am well. I am well. I hope you are too.
I'm okay. I'm okay.
There are some turbulent times. You know the interesting thing. You always ask how I am doing as well when I ask you, which is only fitting. And we always say, well, in our part of the world, we're taught right from growing up, oh, how are you? I'm fine. I'm fine. Sometimes things are not that, but we all say we are fine with God's grace.
Yes.
It is what it is. Let's make tracks. Right before we get into the papers, Doc, I want you to address a few issues that are on your mind, if you may. But for me, we can talk about the president branding ratings agencies as reckless. I'm sure you've heard. These are the same agencies that in 2020 and 2021 were giving us positive ratings. And yet, when they used the same metrics from last year to tell us that our economy was falling into a cesspool or a cesspit, we now brand them as reckless. What do you feel about that? Some have said it is a PR gaffe, a goof, and that maybe it could come back to bite us. But of course, these entities operate with facts and statistics, so I don't think there's going to be any witch hunt in there. The other aspect has to do with a major matter of concern that we're discussing on the show today. The licensure exams and the number of teachers, you're an academic, the number of teachers that are failing the exam. About 1/6 of them passed. The others failed, and some of them woefully. What do you think is happening? Do we even need that exam? Some have questioned. And if we do, what is causing this mass failure? Any thoughts on these?
I think when you started, I could hear you, but a few minutes after that, I couldn't hear what you said. So if you could repeat, I'll be most glad.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, it's clear now.
All right. President Akufo-Addo has branded the ratings agencies, Fitch, Standard & Poor's, and the rest, as reckless. I'm sure you've seen that story. And
yes,
these are the same agencies that in 2020, 2021 were giving us positive reviews on this. They use the same metrics. And now they say we are not exactly there. And he's described them as reckless. In fact, that their ratings were part of what created the mess that we found ourselves in, because, of course, investors will receive the shock of it. The second bit has to do with the licensure exams, the teacher licensure exams. And I'm asking why the mass failures. Out of over 7,000 plus, only 1,000 or so, 1,000 and a little made it. All the others failed. And I'm asking why. Some have questioned whether we even need that exam. What do you think?
I'll go with the licensure exam, but time is not on our side to delve into what the president said. That is also of equal importance. But let me...
You can tackle both, and we'll do our best.
Let me deal with the licensure exam first, then I'll come to the president's reaction to the ratings. I am surprised about the performance, because these are people who have gone through the walls of our tertiary education, and they are now going to the world of work. And the basic requirement for them to gain entry into these fields, that is the problem for them. Yesterday, your network, I think the radio, the story was there, and then they read portions of the script that somebody is alleged to have written in one of the examinations and all that.
Yes, I listened to it as well. Horrible, to say the least.
Very, very. A lot of, factors are involved here. One, every time we talk about
Well, it appears we're losing the feed, the connection to Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante. I'm just going to try one more time to see whether we can get him back. At this time of morning, sometimes it gets frozen. So, all right, Doc, we'll try to get you reconnected so we can proceed from there. But I have also asked my own questions in respect of this teachers' licensure exams. I feel there should be some standardization, yes. There should be some standardization. We've always complained about the quality of some of the teachers out there in the system. So standardize it. But is this the way to go about it? I don't know. That's why I want to get the feedback from the academics, because it's becoming quite a situation. You want to attract those who have gone through the teacher training colleges. You also want to attract some graduates into the teaching profession, which is a good thing. But looking at the rate of failure, we ought to be asking, are we targeting the right things? Well, numeracy, literacy, and all of that. But if you look at some of the results, like Dr. Asah-Asante was mentioning, yesterday on Newsnight, we read one of these results. So what the person had done in terms of an essay or something of the sort. And it was horrible. Without mincing words, it was simply pathetic. Now, such a person teaching someone else would be almost unimaginable. What would they teach on that level? So maybe you may find someone who excels in numeracy, but when it comes to literacy, when it comes to maybe essays and the rest, the person is shambolic. What does that mean, though? I mean, if that person, some would say, if that person is going to teach mathematics, then let them through. But they're going to communicate in a certain language, English. How will they manage? I don't know. But Doc, welcome back to the conversation.
Yes. Thank you.
Please go ahead.
I think, as I was saying, there's a problem with the foundation. If you look at the foundation that we build in this country, there is something basically wrong with the system, and we try to shy away from it. Yes, look at numeracy, that they were getting numeracy skills wrong. Ask yourself, how many people, qualified people, are teaching mathematics in secondary school or in basic levels in this country? Go to the university. How many people graduate as degree holders in secondary schools and other? Who are those? It's a question that I don't know. So anybody, they look at your transcript and you did something related to mathematics. Yeah, you can teach here, and it's one of the problems. Another thing is that if you look at the past history of our schools, anybody who doesn't do well in exam, they said, well, you can be part of training, go for teacher training, and then you can teach and all that. It's one of the factors. So we get people who go into training and they are not fit for purpose. They come to universities and tertiary schools, and then they cut corners and then use all means to go out of the university. Now, the real world of work, where you need to demonstrate knowledge of the subject matter you have studied in the university, then it becomes a problem. So it's a whole mix of factors. I think I am with the council that is undertaking this exercise. It's a good one. We need to set the standard right. It's a simple matter. Get passed and get employment. It's a very simple matter. If you have indeed gone through the training and you are worth your salt, you should be able to go through. In fact, the new standard they are going to introduce, that is even more interesting, where you are going to be examined in the content of the area that you study. That's a good one. And then they will add the numeracy and other skills. I believe that if we embrace this and we do it genuinely without favoring anybody, at the end of the day, those who will go out or will come out of this process will be fit for purpose, and they will help build the kind of education you and I need in this country. Yes, it is the figures are worrying, but I think that if we are able to maintain that stand and make sure that only those who qualify get through to the system, at the end of the day, we'll get the best for this country. I support them. There's no two ways about that.
Right. It also paints a certain picture, almost as though we had allowed over time, not necessarily the best of our brains to go into teaching, doesn't it?
It is one of the problems that we have. That's what I alluded to earlier on. That yes, you don't perform well. I said, well, get yourself enrolled in training college or technical schools and the rest of them. But that should not be the case.
Right.
Or in all the schools, we need the best people. If you go to a country like the Czech Republic, people who teach at the basic level, they have master's degrees, masters, to teach at primary schools, so that you are a master of the subject. You know the ins and outs of a subject, so you can demonstrate superior knowledge of the subject matter. And I'm sure that is what the council is driving at. We need to support the council to succeed in this direction. It is in an interest to support them. Let me look at the present comments on the ratings. I find it very, very, let me put it this way. I think I disagree with the president with respect. Why am I saying that? Governance is not praises all the time. And there's one thing I've seen with this government, that it always wants to be praised. But no, that is not how we govern. When you govern and there are problems, it is your responsibility to accept the problems and fix them. Yes, it is true that this government has done a lot of good in this country. There's no doubt about that. But there are problems as we speak now. There are problems. Government must also admit that. This is the same rating agencies that rated Ghana very high in 2020 and 2021. I didn't see such comment, or I didn't hear such comment coming from my president. No. Why? So today, when the same standard are used to measure the performance of government, and it creates problems for government, government must be, very cool to accept it and then work with it, because there is no governance process that is smooth and straightforward. There are always problems, but your duty as a leader is to accept the problem and then get around the problem. That is the only way out. But if you criticize, you chastise the rating agencies this way, and the next day they rate you so high, would you get the courage to accept that or praise them? No. Governance is not like that. So I think that Mr. President will look at some of these things, because, in fact, it doesn't matter the criticisms that is leveled against the rating agency. They will continue to do their work. And it is important that where the government is failing to address, government will turn its attention there and strengthen that area and fix the problem. Because if the problem is not fixed, the rating agencies will do their work and the ratings will go down and down and down. And if Mr. President doesn't want that, I think my president knows what to do. You need to fix the problem. That is the only way out. Criticisms will not solve any problem.
Well, let's get into the newspapers now, Doc, and find out what they have to share with us. We'll start with the Daily Guide newspaper. And it says, mob chases killer cop in court. That story is on page 6. Pictured there, the victim, Victoria Dapa, and Inspector Ahmed Chumesi, who pleaded not guilty in court. Boga MP's review motion today, that's the James Jachikwason situation. I found an interesting story where Kwame Yogot, he spells this Y-O-G-O-T, so Yogot, the artiste, was saying Jachikwason was his grandfather and that the vice president, Dr. Bawumia, who has been using his music, should desist from it without the rights and that he wouldn't allow his music to be used against James Jachikwason. Well, Jachikwason's review motion is going to be dealt with today, and I'm sure you followed the scenes yesterday at the court where there was a massive representation of members of parliament on the NDC side, and it was said that even if James Jachikwason had to come and sleep there, he would, with the day-to-day review that had been proffered. Ghana earns 153.9 million euros from timber export. And nowadays, every day, you can expect to see something about Dr. Mahama Bawumia in the Daily Guide newspaper. They have something today. Bawulaya is NDC creation. That's according to a report. And if you go and check on social media about liars and all of that, there have been some trends. And oftentimes, you would see certain figures popping up first in there. Well, an investigative report by Joy FM has revealed that the coordinated sharing of hashtag Bawulaya tweets by 28 accounts using the copy and paste technique is an inorganic creature created by the opposition NDC to smear Vice President Dr. Mahama Bawumia's credibility for political gain. According to the report, which was created with mentorship from the African Academy for Open Source Investigations, that is AOSI, to combat disinformation, the investigation also found that NDC loyalists were attempting to, quote, exaggerate and entrench the liar narrative. Now, the report identified Sami Jemfi, the NDC's National Communications Officer, as well as NDC activists Annan Perry and MP Kwating as the architects of the disinformation. So it goes on and on. This is something that was done in-house, which I have followed. While that portion of it may be inorganic, there were also other aspects of it, of people latching on and sharing it. I mean, you can look at it from different facets, but I'll just put it this way. The vice president and all the things that he's been saying, has he been wholly above the board in terms of what he has said versus what has been delivered? Take, for example, something that has been challenged a lot in recent times, this textbook for laptop situation. Only God knows, but that is the story there. Let's also take a look at the one on page 6, and then you can bring in your responses. An application by lawyers for deposed Member of Parliament for Asin North, James Jachikwason, asking an Accra High Court to reconsider its decision to hear his criminal trial in which he is charged for perjury and deceit on a day-to-day basis, has been adjourned to today. Now, the court presided over by Justice Mary Yanzu last week ruled that it would, from yesterday, June the 20th, 2023, hear the case on a daily basis, as requested by the Attorney General and Minister for Justice, Godfrey Yabwa-Dame. Mr. Dame made the request after Justin Poivra Teriwaja, counsel for Mr. Kwason, prayed the court to adjourn the matter beyond June the 27th to allow Kwason time to prepare for the by-election in Asin North. How we're handling this matter, some have called out the Attorney General for how he is handling the matter. But for you, from where you sit, because guess what? Others are campaigning in Asin North, and the former Member of Parliament, if we can call him that, who wants to return, now cannot campaign. What do you make of the situation?
Yeah. Let me start with that story. I think we'll leave the court processes with the court to handle. But let me look at the politics of it. Right? Some people have expressed worry that he may not likely to win, yes, the election and all that, because if he has to go to court every day, he will now have the opportunity to campaign. have a different view. If he has organized himself well, obviously he should be able to win. This is not the first time that we have a situation like this, even though what I'm going to say is a little different from what existed some time ago. You recall in 1951 election, Nkrumah was in prison and he was not around. People like Bedema, Botio and the rest organized themselves and campaigned for him effectively. Nkrumah has said organization decides everything. If he's able to organize himself very well, even if he has to be in court every day, he will still get his message around to the people. At this time, you need message that will resonate with the people. You need message that the people will embrace. Then you need an effective strategy that will come back to what the government, the ruling government is doing. Then, of course, you need to be able to mobilize support for the candidate. These are the three things that are so crucial for the NDC if they want to win the election. But for the court processes, we need a court to handle it. Whether you are in court or you are out on the field and all that, organization is key. And Nkrumah did it. So if NDC really mean business and they want to win, it doesn't really matter. They can put their acts together and then campaign vigorously. That's it. So for me, that's my view. Let's look at the mob that chased the accused person after court.
Right.
Yes. It's very unfortunate because once you send a matter to court, you have to allow the court process to roll on. They
were incensed by the fact that he was pleading not guilty, which is still within his rights. Even if he's committed a crime, he is still within his rights to claim he is not guilty.
That is the point I'm coming to. That an accused must presume to be innocent until the end of the matter. And so it is within his right to, plead in whatever direction. The determination doesn't lie in his mouth, it lies in the mouth of the court. So I think that people must have patience and allow the court process to go on so that at the end of the day, the decision of the court is what will follow. But chasing him out and all that doesn't solve any problem. The good news is that the person is properly before a competent court of jurisdiction. And I believe that that is where justice will be served. But chasing anybody out for the fact that he has pleaded not guilty doesn't help matters. The court is the proper forum, and he is there. The issue of the vice president being branded as a liar and all that is a very difficult story for me in the sense that I don't have all the facts. But if they are branding him as a liar simply because he had made some promises and has not been able to fulfill them, then different story. But you also could be able to live up to the kind of that being the issue. Let's look at the issue of what e-levy, the program he attended at PCFM and the accounts he gave, and later what we saw relative to what e-levy. If you look at the textbook thing that we're replacing with laptop and the rest of them. Look at recently, your network carried a story where a woman, for lack of resources, is writing in the air. It's part of the means by which teachers issue instructions to students. That doesn't work. So I believe that this should be a learning curve for not only the vice president, but for everybody who want to attain any office in this country. That you can make promises, but make sure that the things that you promise are the things that you can deliver. Failure to which people will brand you with all manner of names and all that. In politics, you can't restrain people from doing what they want to do. But that, if you want to avoid it, then you need to stay away from things that will give you a bad name. Otherwise, these things will continue to be around the neck of you.
Let's start wrapping up with some interesting stories. I'll still stay on the Daily Guide, and then I'll get into. So one other story from the Daily Guide newspaper. Inflation projected to rise. Now, Ghana's inflation is projected to climb in the next 2 months due to the unfavorable pricing effect of the 3 new taxes. I'm talking about the excise duty and excise tax stamp, the income tax, and the growth and sustainability levies, as well as the recent increase in utility tariffs. That is the latest forecast from IC Research Africa. Now, after 4 consecutive months of declines in headline inflation, Ghana's disinflation faced a setback in May 2023. In May, inflation rose to 42.2%, up from 41.2% in April. That's a gain of 1 percentage point. Then the Finder newspaper, Dumso must stop. Death threats forced me into hiding for 2 weeks. That's according to Yvonne Nelson. She has a book out, I Am Not Yvonne Nelson. I don't know how much you know about the trends and what she's been saying, claims about Pitala Jete being her father and a whole lot of things. But actress Yvonne Nelson has detailed death threats she received for organizing Dumso Must Stop protests from people who felt I was making the government unpopular. According to her, in the aftermath of the massively attended protest, she had to abandon her home for 2 weeks as she was trailed by unknown persons who staked her gate community home. Anyway, so that is the story there. She's spoken about the fact that at the time, now President Akufo-Addo called her to encourage her. Of course, it works for the opposition. And at the time, she had also got calls from the presidency then, John Dramani Mahama's presidency, urging her to come for a meeting. She said she would only come with the other people she was organizing the event with, and they said they wanted to meet her alone, and she didn't attend the meeting. Different dynamics, but what do you make of these 2 stories, quickly, Doc?
Yvonne Nelson's story, I'm not sure I followed it through, but the little that I could glean from what you are saying is that today, if it's talking, it feels that the government is not feeling comfortable about it, if that is the thrust of the argument. Then it feeds into a perception by other people that, yes, the government doesn't want to take criticisms at all. It's only when it serves their interests. But in governance, generally, you allow people to talk and then be focused in what you are doing. Once you are focused, once you have a policy, and the policy is reasonable enough to yield all the results that you need, you go ahead. Criticisms are important building blocks to help you as you pursue a certain direction. It will shape your direction. So you don't discount them. You bring them on board, and at the end of the day, you deliver. That is all. But when you become very reactive to criticisms and all that, then you lose focus. Then more will come your way, and that creates all manner of problems for government. So I think that my little advice for the government is that it should stay focused and move on, and then carry out what it has under its sleeves, and that at the end of the day, it's still work.
Well, Doc, let's just wrap with these headlines. So the Ghanaian publisher, Kwejo Afari, writes, is our presidential race turning into a freak show? That is on page 4. And government must declare war on the economy. That is according to Professor Bokpin yesterday at the Graphic Stanbic Bank breakfast meeting. There was a lot of talk about that. And the Daily Analyst with this story, Asamoah retires at age 37. He's not been active for 3 years. And of course, now he's retiring. And Yvonne Nelson's book hits number 3 on Amazon. Of course, nationally, internationally, it's received a very good response from Ghana and Nigeria. Any parting shots, any parting words for us, Doc?
Yes, I'll look at war on the economy. I think the professor couldn't have said it better. He has hit the nail right on the head. The economy is paramount. We need to fix it well so that you create livelihood for people. It is the only way out. nothing more, nothing less. So I think that the talk show must end, but that government must walk the talk, make sure that you put all your acts together and fix the economy once and for all. And then we stop the habit of going to IMF. Today, they will accept us. A day will come that a difficult condition will be created that is not that they will not serve us, but they said that, well, meet the condition. If we are not able to meet, we are not able to access any facility. We don't have to build our economy depending on, other institutions. There are resources here. All that we need is prudence and effective management of what this resource. That is the way to go.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante, for joining us this morning for the conversation. And as always, we wish you the very best of the day. Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante is a political scientist. He is director of the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana. To wrap up the conversation, a very happy birthday to you, Francis Osei, MPP's second vice chairman, Tema Central Constituency, and CEO of BTC Logistics, Chris Pharmacy, Tema, and Planet Oil. We bid you to age gracefully, and may your years be full of joy and peace. Mr. Francis Osei, MPP second vice chairman, Tema Central Constituency. We wish you the best of the day. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic helped us to bring you this segment. They're offering free prostate screening if you're a man, free fertility screening if you're a woman. Here's where you can locate them. In Accra at Spintex opposite the Shell signboard, in Kumasi, Kronoma Boyhia behind the Angel Educational Complex, Tema Community 22, Takrade, and Naji Estates, Techiman Hansware, the Siama and Zema. If you should want to call them, these are the numbers to call: 0244-867-068 or 0274-234-321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. There's been more on the international front in terms of sports and Brazil losing to Senegal. We have a lot more coming your way in Sports Tuesday.